Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jones for Veterans in Politics. Today's guest is Jennifer Bandiero, candidate for Nevada's Board of Regents, District 13, and Clark County Family Court litigant, outraged with her 6-year-old daughter, Sophia, by the hands of former Clark County Family Court Judge Cynthia Dianne Steele, who's also a Republican candidate for Nevada's Congressional District 1. But before we get to our guest, Jim, welcome back, brother.
Yeah, been a while, huh?
You've been gone a while.
Yeah, I've been busy.
I had all kinds of guests.
Right.
I had Bonnie, Marketo. I had Stephanie Phillips. I had Dorsey Hall. I had Amber Johnson.
Yeah, and they all did a really good job.
And you know, they're all women.
I watched
women
them all.
Co-hosts. I had.
Yeah, it's interesting how that works. I wasn't surprised, Steve.
Oh, you weren't?
No.
So you have any rants since you're back?
No, actually, I don't have any rants. I just, unless you've been living, on the other side of the world the last 6 or so months. Tomorrow is primary election day. Mm-hmm. So if you haven't voted yet, if you didn't vote early, make sure you vote tomorrow. And I want to wish all the candidates good luck, especially the ones we endorsed.
Yes.
And I just want to, basically, I guess Jesse Law might owe me a favor for this one, but I want to reiterate something that he said at Ahern one time when he was talking about primary elections. And he said, hey, here's the thing, like, if you lose, don't get upset that you lost and take it out on your opponent, whoever defeated you in the primary. Stay involved in the process. Mm-hmm. And I think that's very important, and I think that's very wise, because this election is extremely important. And this isn't a rant against a particular political party, but come on, you see the gas prices, you see the food prices. The price of everything is going up. Like, education hasn't gotten any better at all in this state. So we really need these good candidates to get elected. So even if you don't like your primary opponent, if he beats you, okay, that doesn't mean you can't still be involved. Find somebody else you do like and help them. Or even better yet, like, if you don't really particularly care for any particular one person, I'm sure Jesse Law or Alita Benson or Mike McDonald would be more than happy to give you a task to do to help out the party. So I just want to say, maybe take a week, take a deep breath, gather your thoughts, get some rest, and then get back out there and help these candidates get elected.
And I found out on my way here that Paul Casey, who's a candidate for Ward number 6, doesn't live in that ward. He's only there like 2 days a week. How are you going to represent a ward if you're just part-time? You're hardly there. So folks that live in Ward 6, don't vote for Paul Casey because he doesn't actually live in the ward. He's a part-time resident, if that. So, educate yourself before you go to the voting booth. So, you done, Jim?
Yeah. I just wanted to get that out there, because I know losing an election isn't fun. People need to keep their eye on the ball and realize that we still have a general election.
Absolutely. So, Ms. Bandiero, how are you, ma'am?
Good. How are you?
Good. Tell us about you.
About me? Well, I'm currently running for Board of Regents, District 13. And I decided to do that once I saw where America was headed. And I have 2 children who are only 6 and 7.
Where is America headed anyways?
And we're in a crisis.
Okay.
We're in a crisis. And education, I think, scares everybody. I think it's a topic that we can actually all agree on. Mm-hmm. It has to be changed. I look at them and I'm worried. The CRT and all which is just the tip of the iceberg. But those are words that general public really understands. I don't want my children in that. Right. I want them to just have math. We're going to have arithmetic, English, all the general basics that they need. They don't need these extra things coming their way. They just need to be kids.
Yeah. So who's this little one with you?
This is Sophia. This is my daughter. Say hello.
Hi.
And my son is here. He's watching. They've been through this whole ordeal. And
what ordeal are we talking about?
The ordeal is, it's been going on since she was 15 months old.
You're talking about in the family court?
In the family court, okay. Yes. And this is nothing new to either one of them, so that everybody understands they have lived through this. every day there's a new trauma and a new crisis that we endure. And these children are not new to this. It has made them grow up exceptionally fast. It has robbed them of their childhood. And considering they live it every day, they speak of it. I am out meeting new people at events, and my daughter runs up and tells them details. She tells her school teacher, she tells her school friend. She's like, oh, I told my best friend this today. I met the new neighbor and I told them this happened to me.
What did she say?
So
you want to like give her a synopsis and walk us through?
Yeah, I'll walk you through this here. So I'm here to talk about a situation in which my baby girl at 15 months old, she was drugged with methamphetamines during her father's court-ordered visitation. Okay, she had been placed in PICU, hooked up to machines to assist with her breathing. She was consistently returned to me from her father's court-ordered visitation. She was returned at handoff with projectile, covered in diarrhea, high fevers, urinary tract infections, anal fissures, ear infections, labored breathing, thrush, croup, impetigo, rashes. Her body was covered in rashes for extended periods of time. I mean, we're talking about almost 3 years of time.
So you had a family court case?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
And
yeah.
you were in the Clark County family court system?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean,
who was the judge?
The trial judge was Cynthia Dianne Steele.
Okay.
All along, our judge was Moss.
Who's running for Congressional District 1?
That's Dianne Steele.
Okay.
Yeah, she jumped in for the trial,
okay.
just to do the trial.
Okay.
On a 3-year case.
Okay.
So, yeah, unfortunately, my child's gone through hell. And what was odd to me is nobody would listen, and I couldn't figure out why. It made no sense. Child's drugged with methamphetamine. She's poisoned with it. However you want to say it, she had methamphetamines in her system. Why was nobody listening? Why was nothing done to put precautions in place to ensure this never happened to her again? Why? So what I did do, I wanted answers. I began to dig, and I uncovered that something we all know, Clark County family court system is pretty sick and diseased. The opposing counsel, meaning so other people understand, her father's attorney is Christine and John Kelleher. Now this is where I'm going with this story, where it's all connected. There's a relationship that's between Cynthia Dianne Steele and Christine Kelleher that's at the center of all this. And at the end of the day, there's a severe injustice that is happening in the Clark County family court system and DCFS CPS, and it's being hidden really damn well, okay? This is the reason why my daughter is continually abused and neglected. This is the reason why my son, my daughter, and I are forced to live in trauma every single day of our lives. It hasn't ended. It hasn't ended since the trial, and it continued. It even happened this weekend. It's constant. So the more you dig, the more that you find it's unreal. We have a corrupt official who is making private profit off of a public service paid by tax dollars. How? Her name's Christine Kelleher of Kelleher & Kelleher, and in doing this, she's obstructing justice. Together, she and Cynthia Dianne Steele obstructed my daughter, Sophia's justice.
How so?
How so? Because you have Christine Kelleher here. She's listed on the law website, right? On their family law Kelleher & Kelleher website. They state that she worked from 97 to 2000 representing the Division of Child and Family Services, which would mislead the reader in believing that Christine only represented DCFS and CPS as a hearing officer for 3 years. That's 20 years ago. However, when you go to the commissioner's meeting minutes, you see that Christine Kelleher was appointed all the way from 2000, it goes all the way up to 2019 that she was appointed. My daughter's case was in 2016. So you have a hearing officer, which everybody's well aware of, that she's the hearing officer. She went into my trial and she was speaking on his behalf, representing him at trial in front of a judge that knows her position. Mm-hmm. That's conflict of interest. Mm-hmm. So she has access to all those CPS cases. She has access to all the CPS reports, access to all those caseworkers. Yet she's representing the accused and the abused. How is it?
You can't.
You can't.
Mm-hmm. What's
going to happen when a caseworker sees, oh man, Kelleher's on this one. I better be careful on what I report, what I say. Mm-hmm. So
you think there's some type of backroom deal going on between the judges and the attorneys?
Well, when you look at Cynthia Dianne Steele's, when you look at her campaign donations, now she's running for Congressional district. Who donated to her? Kelleher and Kelleher. They donated the top dollar donation to her on March 18th. What was the last day to file? How did they know that she filed by March 18th, which was the last day to file? Kind of odd, right? So obviously they have to have some kind of relationship that on the day she filed, hey, I don't know if she filed the 17th or whatever, but the last day of filing.
And Judge Steele also has Rena Hughes,
As her
who's
treasurer.
the corrupt judge that got ousted off the bench, as her treasurer for a Congressional District 1 race.
Yes.
And Rena Hughes also works for Jennifer Abrams,
Who also
who's
donated.
another POS attorney who represents litigants in family court.
Who also gave a campaign donation to her on the same period of time. So we know that there's something behind the scenes. I mean, you got to put two and two together. So it's shocking that this is happening. I've been screaming it from the rooftops. Nobody's doing anything. They're turning a blind eye. Nobody's acting on this to fix it so that these children are properly represented and given a fair trial. That's, it's been a long haul and it hasn't stopped. This weekend, it was 3:00 in the morning. She's on the patio, the balcony at her father's house while he's upstairs sleeping. But I got yelled at for it because I called for a welfare check. And you know what the officer said to me? He said, don't ever do anything like this on your own. He said, because you're going to get blamed for harassment. You're going to get blamed that you're doing this on purpose. You're stalking him, when in reality, she called me at 11 o'clock at night, scared to death.
Called you.
She called me. She's like, Mom, I'm scared. We're scared. We're all scared. I said, what is going on? I got a voicemail. That was the first thing, was the voicemail of how scared she was and how scared her friends were. Then it turned into the phone calls. I called her back. Mom, please come get us. We don't want to be here. We're scared. I'm like, well, where is Daddy? He's upstairs sleeping. And he has the swamp cooler on. And he has a dog in there and the door's shut. And we're down in the basement level. He's up on the 3rd floor. He can't hear us. And these girls were loud and they were screaming. And how could he not hear this? My kids are not up at 2:00 in the morning at my house.
So you've been going through this for how long now? 3 years?
Since 2016.
Okay. And how has this changed your life?
We don't have a life. My life literally consists of me going to bed at night saying she lived another day. She survived another day. I was able to bring her food. She calls me for food. I have to stop. I'm in the middle of creating PACs to go out and help even other candidates, not even just myself. I want to be a part of this process. I have to drop what I'm doing. After they all hear what she just said, I had no clue she was going to say, Mommy, my tummy's grumbling. I'm starving. Bring me food.
So did Judge Steele or did Judge Moss give Dad primary custody?
This is Judge Steele.
Okay.
And you know that Christine Kelleher was in the room. Why? She has no right. Her contract states she can't be in there arguing on their behalf. And she was in there arguing on his behalf. And her husband pointed it out.
So did the children have their own attorney?
No.
Okay. So Dad's attorney is Kelleher's.
Yes.
So Kelleher's was arguing with the judge?
On behalf of the ex, her father.
And where was your attorney?
He was there. He was in the room. But you know what Steele said? She went along with Kelleher and didn't allow any exhibits to come in. So how is it that we had one family,
What's
one
your
judge,
attorney's name?
Fred Page?
Okay. So Kelleher's gave money to Dianne Steele for her congressional campaign.
Yes.
And so did Jennifer Abrams.
Yes. And so did Rena Hughes. She
And
also
so did Rena
contributed.
Hughes.
Yes.
Okay.
And the last.
Follow the money.
Well, I mean, it's true. And follow the money to represent, she's getting paid by tax dollars and by private profit. So she's making $450 an hour off of him, plus whatever she's getting paid by her DCFS contract.
So how did this get you to be involved in the Regent?
It wasn't really that got me involved in it. My thing is my children. My children are my entire world. And when I saw the direction of education in this state, I wanted to run for anything that had to do with education, because I also have a degree. I have a college degree, and that I was the first person in my family to ever have a college degree. And I want my children to follow in that path. Whereas Christine Kelleher fought with me that my daughter didn't need to go to school. She was sending me letters, emails, private emails from her own email address that he doesn't have to bring her to school. It was a fight. I had to fight just for her to have an education. We don't have to go down that path. These children deserve to have an education. So I got involved because I have a passion for it. And I have the commitment to stick to it, to change what is happening.
So does Dad have primary custody?
We share 50-50.
Where does Dad live?
He is, what would you consider that area? Southwest? Southwest?
Okay, he doesn't live in Nye County.
No.
Oh, okay, I thought he lived in Nye County.
Yeah, no. Moss stated that after I had temporary sole custody of her, that as long as he moved back to Las Vegas, he could have her back, 50-50.
So this was an evidentiary hearing you were having before Judge Steele, right?
Yeah,
How long was the evidentiary hearing for?
3 days.
It was 3 days. And what
Yeah.
was brought up?
Well, 1 second. What can I do for you, honey? Okay, go ahead.
You want to say hi before you go?
Say hi.
We've never had a kid on the show before.
She said in a little bit.
This is the first time we had a kid. You probably want to grab her mic.
She goes
She's
to
leaving.
every event that she possibly can go to with me. And she talks a lot.
Sophia, you don't want to say anything?
A little bit.
Oh, you going to come back? Oh, okay. I didn't know this was that type of show. All right.
So that happens when you got a 6-year-old.
So what are you going to do now?
What my main focus is to get this story out there, to get the information out there, because I know other people are going to come forward. Years ago, when I first started speaking about this, there were so many other people that came forward and said, oh my gosh, I had the same experience. The same thing happened to me. This shouldn't be happening. The best interest of the children should be followed.
So as a Nevada state regent, how are you going to put family court on the forefront so people can pay attention to what's going on to try to change it?
Well, I'm not going to use the Board of Regents to do that. Board of Regents is obviously going to be separate because I'm going to be focusing on the educational system, the universities.
Okay.
But also, it's been my issue for 6 years. I mean, I have been out there talking about this for years, going to commissioner meetings and getting ignored. And the time is now to change this because it's affecting these children dramatically. My son goes to a therapist and he said that this child is so traumatized because of this case. And you can only imagine then what that child has gone through.
What have they been going through?
He's constantly badgered by my ex every single time we have an interaction, because we have to have an interaction the way they set it up where we exchange the children. Initially, Steele had said, well, I'm going to have you exchange at a police station. But I changed my mind. I'm not going to do that. So we're exchanging at the school. When school is out, we're exchanging at each other's houses. My son goes there. That was his stepfather. He was in his life. And the reason I did not let my son go there is because I knew where he moved to had drugs, where my ex moved to there were drugs. And all I asked was him to get a stable living environment. That would be reasonable request. Do you have everything? You left abruptly. We didn't know. We didn't plan for this. And now you're moving into a trailer in Pahrump with your mom and her two boyfriends. And we know that there's drugs there. I don't want the kids there. So I didn't let Colton go. I didn't. And that broke my heart because Colton didn't deserve to be put in the middle of that. But I had to at least save who I could save.
What do you think the injustice was with Judge Steele in your case? What do you think that she did wrong, or that was corrupt, or that was unjust?
Well, multiple times she made inferences that my daughter should have never been born, and she wishes that she had a time machine to travel.
Stop.
Yeah.
You want me to read
You're
that
gonna
to
have to
you?
explain that.
She said that your daughter should have never been born.
I wish I had a time portal so we could go back to the day before conception. We would make better decisions before we take that step. I don't want a time portal to go back in time. I love my daughter. It took me 14 years and 6 miscarriages to
judge
have
said
her.
that to you?
There's one more. I think in a case like this, we have 2 people who regret their prior choices and their prior decisions. Oh, gee, I wish I hadn't gotten pregnant with this child. It took me 14 years and 6 miscarriages to have her. And you want to tell me my daughter should have never been born?
Wow. That's interesting.
No, there's more.
Oh, we'll keep going.
you
I
want
mean,
me to-
we got a primary election tomorrow.
So I have the transcripts here. Okay, so we're going to go to, that was really sad. Page 12, she says, I have read every
When you say she said,
Steele.
we're talking about Judge Steele.
Sorry, Steele. I have read everything. I read every document. I've read every pleading. I read, I do that, so I'm aware. Then later she states on page, you got to hear this, on page 259.
Okay.
So she's making it aware that she's read everything, right?
Okay.
258. Sorry that I'm only here for the trial and wasn't for your previous hearing because there would have never been an OFW or family wizard, whatever, never would have that been. Okay, I think that added a day and a half to this trial. I first of all want to apologize on behalf of the court for any role we played in the delay to address the matters before the court. That came in March of 2017 and has not been addressed until today. I know there was a caseload change between a judge getting a different caseload and moving his caseload around. Then there was a preempt or a recusal or something, yeah. The opposing counsel says this case has been here all along. And she says, in front of Judge Moss? And she says, the whole time? She said, no, Ochoa. And then she says, oh, am I thinking of a different case? And then he says, you're thinking of the wrong case. And she says, I think it was between their agreement. Well, I don't know.
So you're saying that she wasn't sure what case she was presiding over at that time?
What would one safely assume from what was just stated?
Okay.
She goes on to say, okay, I guess I'm thinking of a different case. All right, I just know I thought I saw a preempt in here. Well, the other part of the caseload change would be caseload because we don't always have the availability on an instant to move something to a quick spot, whatever you need to continue. So I would assume that first you say you know the case, then now you're saying you don't even know what case you're on. That's really concerning when...
And that's who we want to vote for Congress.
That's concerning. Then she states on page 13, Steele states, what I see as a high conflict case. On page 260, she states, I don't know this is so much high conflict. Then on page 279, well, this could be flagged as high conflict, but it's just a personality problem. So which is it? Is it high conflict? Is it not high conflict? Then when we get to the drugs, page 261, Steele states, wish she had the time portal. The whatever conduct that occurred with regard to the drugs being found in your child's system, it happened.
And what drugs was found in the system?
Methamphetamines.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
While the child was in your care and custody. So what she's saying is it occurred while the child was in your care and custody to the ex, not me.
Okay.
There's no proof of it didn't happen somewhere else. We don't have any in McDonald's hamburgers. But custody was never changed. There was not even just custody change. Nothing was put in place to ensure this didn't happen again. Why? Can people just go around drugging their kids? Is that normal? Because I don't think it's normal. I wasn't raised around drugs. I don't understand drugs. That is not in my toolbox of the world. So that's why I didn't understand her symptoms when she was coming home sick, nor did the pediatrician or all the other doctors treating her, because nobody thinks a parent is exposing their child to methamphetamines because we are making the best decisions in the best interest of our children, right? Just like Judge Steele should be doing. And then she states about his family. We do know that there are proclivities in your family side that may have caused this exposure being available to the child. So now we're admitting it happened because of his timeshare. Your family has proclivities we need to be worried about, but still she changes nothing. Later on, she states that we can't go back in time to fix this because this is not punishment court. So where is the justice to my daughter? And it's not even about my daughter. This is about all the children in this state of Nevada. How many other children is this happening to? And it doesn't have to be poisoning with meth. It could be anything. So, no substantiation. And this is where we come back to CPS and the Christine Kelleher issue, okay? She says, so this is page 262. We'd better read line for line. So there was no substantiation of neglect or abuse of this child by any entity. So she's saying that one entity substantiated that this child was abused or neglected. She just said that it was his timeshare that caused this, right? Like you just heard me read that. Okay, she said, I think that in cases like this, we just have two people that regret their prior choices and their prior decisions. Oh, gee, I wish I hadn't gotten pregnant with this child. So when you go to those substantiations that she's talking about, the only one that wasn't substantiated was CPS. That's the only report that wasn't substantiated. Even though the fact that when they went into that home and they started talking to people out there at that trailer, they drug tested the other minor in the trailer who came back positive for methamphetamines too. So now you have 2 children in the same home testing positive for methamphetamines, but the case was still closed unsubstantiated. Then we had a forensic evaluation of the trailer. It came back positive for meth use. They say, but it was only in certain rooms and certain places. It still came back positive. Why is it positive?
What were the symptoms that made you realize that your daughter was sick and that you had to bring her to the doctor and that they said that she had meth in her system? What were the symptoms?
So I didn't recognize them. There was one day that sparked all of this to get her drug tested. He withheld her for Easter. So I drove out to Pahrump. I had my decree, which I learned you have to have it stamped with the seal, and I didn't have that. I get out there, I said, I really need help. I explained the situation. The sheriff in Pahrump said, you have to go back, get the sealed one. I drove back to Vegas, get the sealed, go back. He escorts me to the home, the trailer, and he pulls up and he's high. You can clearly see he is on something, okay? We don't know what. We'll never know. And the sheriff says, hand the baby over. And he's like, well, I thought that we're on a Pahrump timeshare and a Pahrump. No, this happened in a Clark County courtroom. The decree is out of Clark County, and you darn well know that we're not following a Pahrump schedule anything. So he hands the baby over. The sheriff writes a CAD call, and in the CAD call, he states that he can tell that Mr. So-and-so is on something, okay? Then I go back a month later. I was like, I really need you to write me something. I need you to write an affidavit so that this follows me, because I know they're covering everything up. He writes it down. He's like, yeah, I showed up. His eyes were bloodshot. He had smell of whatever on him. And I could tell that he was not of sound mind. But still, nobody cares. It's the most bizarre thing to me that we just keep covering it up.
Yeah, I remember now, after hearing you go through this, I remember when we first had you on, when this first started. Yeah,
I didn't know anything really at that time.
Yeah. I remember this case though. Like I wasn't sure, but as soon as you started going over it, that's when Steve brought up Nye County, I'm like, wait a minute, I remember a trailer in Pahrump or something coming in at this point. Yeah.
That's how I knew to get her tested, because now I'm missing work. I'm constantly missing work because of it, because she comes first. I'm going to take her to the doctors. I'm going to get her cared for, because I don't want anything to happen to this precious baby that took me forever to have, and I love her. On the way back, she starts throwing up, projectile all over my car. And then she's acting really weird and glossy-eyed, and I was like, something isn't right with her. Go to work, I show the video, because now I'm recording it, and I send it to him as well. I'm like, what is wrong with our baby? No response. And I end up showing everybody at work, and my manager, Rakea, she looked at it, and she goes, she's high. I said, no, she's not. How does a baby get high? Like I said, I don't have this in my toolbox of the world. And she goes, look at her eyes. Look at the way she's acting. She's being exposed to something. And I was like, oh no. I went back up on the floor.
You just don't want to believe that, right?
Well, I can't believe it.
Right.
I can't. Why would a parent, first off, even move into the trailer when they know there's drug addicts living there, right? Mm-hmm. And how would you allow the child to be exposed?
And Judge Steele knew all this.
Moss knew it all. Steele knew it all. Like she said, she read everything, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's why we got her drug tested, because it kept happening. And the next handoff, he handed her to me covered in vomit and diarrhea. I said, I'm done. I am done with this. I can't live like this. I'm going to lose my job, and I'm going to lose my mind trying to protect her. And my son is losing out on all of his childhood because he's living in emergency rooms with me, which I then got attacked for and said that I had Munchausen because I'm getting her medical treatment. How do I have Munchausen? These are doctor notes. Should I not get her treated? Because had I not...
Explain Munchausen so people understand.
I'm intentionally making her sick. Intentionally. Handoff. Here, he comes to the door. Here's the baby. She's throwing up and covered in diarrhea. But I guess that I'm doing that because I'm getting her back like that. So then they look at me and say, this is your fault. And you're mental and you're crazy and you're trying to kill the baby. Okay.
That's what they say so people won't listen to you.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Instead of the best interest of the child, let's help her. What's happening? So we go through a $16,000 forensic psychological evaluation. It came back, there's nothing wrong with me. There's no Munchausen by proxy. What's happening is the child is indeed drugged with methamphetamines, exposed to methamphetamines, poisoned with it, however you want to state it, okay? And the other parent refuses to acknowledge this is happening. He doesn't have the capability to understand, agree, or acknowledge, and all he's doing is pushing it off on me. And that was in the
His brain
report.
is fried with meth.
Well, this is all that's in the report. And Steele says, oh, you guys are both great parents, but you can't co-parent. You'll never be able to co-parent. And he acknowledged that something was wrong with her, and he took her to the doctors.
So Steele says dad is a great parent as well, the one that's giving his daughter the meth.
Yes,
Okay.
but it also comes down to the forensic report that they made me pay for. It was court ordered. I didn't ask for that. The opposing counsel did because they said I was nuts because they wanted to spin the courtroom to draw out the case. So then I said, I can't afford that. That's $16,000. You made the accusation. The burden of proof is on you, so you pay for it, and I will gladly do it. Where am I going to come up with $16,000? I'm a single parent with 2 children going through a court case, trying to give them the most normal life I can, losing work like crazy because I'm trying to keep her alive. You know I don't have the money. So I told Dr. Paglini that I don't have the money. I will do it, but I don't. It took about 2 months, and we did my mom got some funds back home from some friends, and they helped pay for some of it to get it started, and I started going through it. The accusations were this deep. It wasn't one accusation. There were this many accusations. I'm going to kill a child. I'm mental. I'm narcissistic. I'm borderline. All these things, which then came back that it wasn't me. It's the other party that has those exact things that they're claiming I have. And also, they wanted him to investigate to see where did the meth come from. So he did. He investigated. He's like, yep. And he found that they were lying. They were lying when he would go out there. He looked at the CPS reports and he's like, well, this isn't adding up. The information's different here and it's different there and it's different there. So he really did write a great report. We go to trial and she's like, well, no, I think everything's fine. Her closing statement. Good luck, you guys. I know you can do this. You both seem to be really fine people in your old world. It's just when your worlds collide. We have a child together. It's going to collide every single day because we have to raise her until she's an adult, minimum. But when our worlds collide, but we're fine people, even though this child almost died. She was in, if you saw the pictures and the videos that I have, the doctor letters, 3-page letters saying this child was going through withdrawal. I witnessed the withdrawal. She had lost all this weight. And then as soon as CPS got involved, she gained all this weight and all her ailments went away. So she also stated, but she feels everything's fine, but she said, I need to have something a little bit more controlled as far as the environment for the child. So what did you put in place? What did you do to control the environment? Are you going to do anything? No, she didn't. Now you also know that one of the factors is the ability of the parents to cooperate, correct? So you have to be able to cooperate. That's part of one of the factors. She never stated a finding. She opened up the thing and she opened up the statement where she says the ability of the parents to cooperate. She got into my daughter's swim class and she spoke about swim classes in the state of Nevada. She never addressed that one factor. That's part of making a decision on custody.
Did she ever address the meth?
She did. I can read that to you. Let me get it for you because this is it's probably like some of the last changing our schedule. Okay. So she said, this is the beginning. It says, finding that there's been no substantial change of circumstances, like nothing's happened, right? I find that there was an emergency, a real good reason for her to file, meaning me, for her to file her motion when the drug incident arose sometime back. And had that turned out differently, she died, there would have been certainly a change of circumstances. And maybe we would have not have, if it had gotten taken care of sooner, it might have had a different outcome. Right now, we've got an outcome where a really bad thing happened and the gun admonition happened.
So,
And she goes into more.
What did Judge Steele do to Dad because of this meth?
Nothing. You asked for a change in circumstances. If you had asked me that question 25 months ago, I would have said, yeah, there's a real big change. Right now, as the parties sit here today, there's no real difference between when they made their agreement prior to her being exposed to methamphetamines for 6 months to a year. So she's saying that nothing happened between the time that we made our agreement before all this happened and how they are as parents today before me. So today is the day I've got to make the decision on. You know that this was filed, all this motion and this trial came about because we needed an answer to how to fix her being drugged with meth. So today's the day she's making the decision on, though. I'm not making it on something that happened in the past. If the parties had continued to be in denial and not get the child any help, the Paglini report says he's in denial.
Sounds like the judge is in denial.
What? And then she says, and help the Child Protective Services had said something else. And if I had more facts, I don't know. So wait. So because Child Protective Services said it's unsubstantiated, even though all those things happened, and they still admitted it, but they just unsubstantiated it because we know that somebody's a hearing officer for CPS working on the case in the courtroom, litigating the case. Secondly, Dr. Paglini stated that he was in denial, that he was not addressing this, and he gave a slew of remedies, like this is what we have to do to ensure this child is safe. He also stated in the report, this child's in grave danger. I don't take that as a joke. That's not even minor. To say my child's in grave danger, it makes me very concerned. So we also had the forensic reports from the house. I took polygraph tests. You know, this case is so involved, but she said that there were no facts. I have two people not getting along. They're still not getting along today. So I'm not going to make a finding that there has been substantially a change that would warrant a change of custody. And it's basically because time went by. So if you murder somebody and a year goes by or 2 years go by, do you just drop it? If somebody was violated.
There's no statute of limitations on murder.
What if somebody is violated? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What if a woman is, you know where I'm getting at, I don't want to say it in front of her, and it took 2 years to come to the court. Does she say, well, I can't do anything to the perp because it's been 2 years since you finally got to make it here? Tell me.
I hear what you say.
There is a great injustice that has been done, and it has continued because after this was done, less than a year later, my daughter gets in the back of the car and she says, Mommy, my bones are broken. Your bones are broken. Yeah, Mommy, I was out there. She was at the trailer where the meth incident happened that Dr. Paglini said, don't let her go there. And Steele said, she can go. She went back. The child spun her around while Daddy was sleeping in bed. She said, Daddy was sleeping. I'm outside without any adults around, Mommy. And he picked me up and he spun me around and threw me outside and I landed on the ground in the stones. And Mommy, it hurt so bad. I ran to the house and I was begging for help and they told me to stop crying.
So the psychiatrist, Paglini's a psychiatrist or psychologist?
Forensic psychologist.
So they have the parents hire these third-party entities, a psychiatrist, psychologists, to get their input on the case. Mm-hmm. And then you spend all this money.
And time. It draws out the case.
And then the judge don't even
acknowledge it.
And so why even go?
Thank you. But here's the other part. We had agreed when Rhonda was my attorney, she went back and they had agreed, Kelleher and Rhonda agreed that they were going to have him speak. They were going to use him as a witness. And the report was, I don't have the report here, but I'm like pretending this is my information. And they were going to use the report. Now we're here at trial and we're not. She's using some of the information, not all the information. You can't even use it because you've never even, you don't have the Dr. Paglini there to back up the information that's in this report. So it's just a complete waste of time.
So what do you want to see done?
We need to revamp family court. There's too many injustices to too many children. And what makes me angry is that I hear from all these people, why are the kids in school so angry? Why are all these kids so angry in this world? Well, why do you think? These kids are forced to be with abusive, neglectful, whatever word you want to use, in these homes. The judges are forcing these children to go there because they're not even acknowledging that these things are happening to these children. And these are grave issues. These are catastrophic things. Then we have where they don't even get the time with the parent that's healthy, right? Now you have COVID that happened, and those children are forced to stay in that home an extra 6 hours a day. Normally they got to go to school, get away from it. Now they're locked in these homes basically because we were in lockdown and they can't get away from it. Now we're going back to school and you see all this angry outburst. Why do you think? Kids are sick of being abused, and there's so many kids that are coming out and talking about it. Finally at 16, at 18, there are so many children, boys, girls, speaking about, this is what this judge did to me. I was abused my whole life and she said my mother was lying and she wasn't. And now I have to go through years of therapy to fix myself. Why can't we just look at the facts? You order a forensic report, look at it. Take the time, because this is a human being. This is a life. How do we have the next generation out there, making decisions and taking care of us if we're not even taking care of them with their children? She states that we shouldn't co-parent. The co-parenting ship has sailed. Have you ever been able to raise a child or had to raise a child with somebody that refuses to cooperate with you? You can't talk to them. You can't look at them. You can't ask them to co-parent. Nothing. How do you do that? How is that effective? And how is that in the best interest of her? She literally said, be careful how you talk to him.
So you got to walk on eggshells.
When you write through OFW, you can only use a few lines because it's bothering him and he's scared to open the messages. Well,
is this for the child or is this for him?
Thank you.
So what do you think should happen to former Judge Cynthia Steele?
People need to be aware, and that is why this is important to me. If you cannot stand up for an innocent child who almost died, how are you going to stand up for your constituents? How are you going to make the right decisions for the state of Nevada and for the constituents? How? You couldn't even protect an innocent. She was 15 months old at the time. And I don't want to take a child away from a parent. What I want to see is protective measures put in place. And I want to see him get the help that he needs so he can be the parent that she deserves, because she does deserve two parents. That's all I've ever asked. But I can't get that because I'm attacking. I shouldn't have to go to bed at night saying, wow, we made it through another day. She's still alive. Okay, she got fed today. I feel better. I brought food. I stopped everything I'm doing and I brought her food. Oh, great. Her bones were broken. Do you know when her bones were broken? Even though there's MRIs and there's x-rays, he still denied and he argued with the doctor, the orthopedic surgeon. No, they're not. This is concerning to me.
Because he has a medical degree in what?
I don't
Nothing.
know. Tell me.
Okay.
What we need to start working together to change this. I know Vem is out there, and that's one of Vem's topics, and I'm so grateful for him. And I really,
Talking about Ben Miller.
yes, I wish the best because we need him. These children need him. We can't go on like this. I can't live like this. I literally live on eggshells. Can I say this? Can I say that? Can I approach him on this? I was told to be careful how I talk to him. Do not lecture him. That anything about co-parenting is lecturing. Basically, my First Amendment's gone. I cannot have freedom of speech to be a parent. She removed my rights to speak as her parent, as her advocate.
Who removed your rights?
Still, by telling me you can't do this, you don't lecture him unless you get a degree. Once you get a degree, you can lecture him. I'm not lecturing. She was drugged with meth.
So you have to have a degree to lecture. You can't lecture being a parent.
Nope.
Well, I mean, but that's the thing that's weird, that's frustrating too, is like what technically is considered lecturing. Like when you do the handoff, if you say, oh, okay, well, here's a change of clothes or food for the night or whatever the case may be. Is that considered lecturing?
Whatever.
Because some people will literally, because I've heard about other parents doing this and get real super defensive and go, oh, you don't think I can clothe my own child? You don't think? And they flip out.
They do.
Yeah.
And that's actually a circumstance that happened. So after trial, she was coming home and she was stinky, and Colton, her brother, makes fun of her in the truck, and he rolls down the window, and he's not lying. Okay, this has gotten a little bit better over time, but this is one instance. So I messaged him, and I had to be really careful. It takes like 2 hours to even think about what to write, because you gotta, okay, can I say that? No, I can't say that. Oh, she's gonna hold me in contempt. How do I say it? It's like, hey, can we just work on her personal hygiene so we can teach her, right? We teach our children to have personal hygiene for when they grow up. And I was very polite about it. Don't lecture me. That's all I got back, okay? So the next 2 weeks later, she gets hurt in the bathtub.
Let me be a stupid parent. No constructive criticism at all.
No, but we can't even work together. I mean, constructive criticism, working together, nothing. 2 weeks later in the tub, she gets hurt. She put something up somewhere really high that she shouldn't have. It was her. She told me when she came home, she did it. And I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. I literally just asked you to help her. And I was nice about it. And she got hurt really bad. And she's like, Mommy, it hurts and it's burning and it's bleeding. And oh my God, Mommy, well, that should have never happened. Where is he, first of all? I've never let them in the tub by themselves. The last time he left her in the tub by herself, which Steele was aware of because if she read everything, she would have known.
She said she read everything, so.
Yeah, but she didn't have exhibits though. And here's one other point, everybody. She was 1995 Assemblywoman? 1995, 1996? Okay, she was Assemblywoman. And you know that she's the one who pushed to have one family, one judge, right? But here she is jumping in on the day of trial. You know nothing about my case. You say no to my exhibits. You say no to my witnesses about this child's serious, catastrophic situation.
Why did they hand it off from Moss to Steele to begin with?
She stated on her opening statement that the Supreme Court ordered her to be there. So and she says, so if you don't see my name, and if you've never seen my name on a ballot, that's why.
Huh.
Because these retired judges are sitting in, they weren't voted in. Why are they sitting in on these cases if they're not voted into those positions?
Right.
That's pretty alarming to me too.
Well, the senior judges come from the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
When a judge retires, then the Supreme Court deemed them senior judges to fill the vacancies of elected judges that can't be there
And
for
then things like this
various
happen.
reasons. And then things like this happen. But she's been on the bench 24 years or something crazy like that.
Yeah. Yeah. She was. So how many other cases are like this? Because you seal a case or, you put gag orders or something on somebody, which I don't have a gag order, but you do all those things and you take those precautions so that this word doesn't get out there. I'm never going to be quiet about this case. Until there's justice for her, I will never shut my mouth.
And what kind of justice are you looking for?
I would love to see that he gets the help he needs. Here, take these. Dr. Paglini said you should do all this. So let's do that. That's all I want. Teach him, help him. Teach him what co-parenting is and how to speak to another adult human being. How? Yes, sweetheart. You want to? Okay. Yeah, she said, can I talk now? I'm like, you want to? She's like, not yet.
So, Miss Bandiero, did we cover everything?
Let's see. The sibling bond.
Explain.
She told me that the sibling bond, that's one of the
is?
factors. That's one of the, what is it, NRS 125.0035 or something, right? What is that
Tell
code?
us.
There's so many NRS statutes. That's another show. I could go off all day long on those damn statutes.
I brought it for you guys. Here. Some of the factors that go into a court's best interest of the children. NRS 125C.0035. The child's ability to make contact with their siblings. Okay? She told the ex that he was treating Colton like a puppy dog. She also stated I was treating Colton like a puppy dog.
How so?
Because I didn't want Colton going to the trailer in Pahrump where the meth was. That was me treating him like...
How is that a puppy dog statement come to play?
She said that, and then she told us to work it out ourselves. Even though she said we cannot co-parent, the co-parenting ship has sailed. It's not going to happen. She states we can work it out. So then she changes. She goes, I'm gonna try to fix this for you guys, but I really don't know how. So I think what we're gonna do, instead of changing custody, we're gonna change your timeshare, like the visitation schedule. So then she starts changing. She goes, oh, but I don't know. It ended up
How about putting Dad in a drug rehabilitation program?
or parenting courses for that matter, too. There were so many steps that could have been taken that weren't, and it's still continuing with her.
Sorry, I was just going to add something, and I'm sorry to be cynical about it, but see, the one thing that I have learned over the years, thanks to Steve, because Steve's the one that really brought all this to my attention, because I'm not a parent.
Yeah.
So, I mean, family court, I'm like, whatever, because it didn't affect me, right? Well, one thing I learned really quick about family court is interest of the child.
Yes.
Okay, that only apply. The court only uses in the interest of the child. Not all family court judges, but most of them. The interest of the child is only used if they can get money out of it by ordering the parent to do more stuff and more classes. And then, it's like a whole clique, that whole thing.
You're spot on, because we had an actual therapist for the children.
But if the court actually did what you're suggesting, you know what would happen?
They wouldn't make any more money.
They wouldn't make any more money, and it would actually be a benefit. But it would be a benefit to your daughter and your ex and you.
And my son.
And your son, but they're not going to make money off of it. It's a money-making machine. Vem is spot on when he calls it blood money. He's not joking. It's exactly what it is. Anyway, sorry,
no,
I didn't
it's
mean to
a $50 billion business with no oversights, no checks and balances. They do their own oversight. How?
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I mean, she set this order up. If you look at the order, she set it up in a way to shield him from any discovery of wrongdoing ever. Okay? She's not going to let me lecture him. She's not going to let me co-parent with him.
Why do you think these judges are protecting the most abusive parents?
To make the money, because the protective parent is always going to fight. They're always going to find the money somewhere, somehow, to go back to court, to go in that courtroom, to put the money in forensic psychologist, to do the forensic psychologist report, to go to the court-ordered classes that you're talking about. Because she even said she doesn't like therapy. She stated in here, I don't like therapy. That's not my favorite thing. So no, he doesn't have to go to therapy. Because you don't like it? We have a mental health crisis in the United States of America. We are last in the nation in the state of Nevada for mental health. And she's over there stating that, well, it's not one of my favorites, so no, you don't have to go to therapy. And when I did take the children to therapy, I was taking parental psychoeducation classes so I could try to understand his personality disorder traits that Dr. Paglini labeled him with, which were multiple. There were like 4, I believe. Don't quote me, but about 4. I wanted to learn those traits so I could know how I could better work walking around on eggshells on him, and I wanted to learn what was going on with her.
So you wanted a co-parent?
I got yelled at for it. Steele reprimanded me for me going to therapy, that the therapist sent letters to Kelleher, hey, we really need your client to come. She sent letters to him, we need you to come. This is for the benefit of her.
She reprimanded you for going to therapy?
Yes, sir. She said I needed to do the court-ordered one, which are 6 weeks long. What is a 6-week course going to do? I was going 3 times a week. 1 day for me, 1 day for her, and 1 day for my son. And then we never went again because we were getting attacked. No matter what I did, I got attacked because she knew I would come back, because she knew this child was going to get hurt again. What are the probabilities? If there's constant mishandling of the child and she's put in these dangerous situations, what's the probability it's going to happen again? It did. Her bones were broken.
How so?
With being thrown off the trampoline into the stones. And we had to pay for the police officer's camera footage. There you go. There's another person making money off of us because of this case. Yeah. So you can't fathom this. When people hear this story, they get so angry and so enraged. But I've been living this. This is my hell that I live. This is her hell that she lives. And this is his hell my son lives. He's sick of it. He cries. He's like, why does this keep happening? You can go on my Instagram and look at videos. My Instagram is private, and you hear him screaming, I hate him. He just attacks me and he won't stop. And he does it on purpose to this little boy. She comes
Sophia,
home and...
you got something to say? What do you want to say?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just want to say hi.
Look at the camera. The camera's right up there. Hi.
How does all this make you feel?
I don't like it.
What would you like to see happen? What would make your life better? And don't worry about me. Don't worry about Daddy.
Well...
You. Worry about you.
What are you trying to say?
What would you like to see happen so that you can be happy? What would make you happy in your life?
I want to say it in your ear.
You want to say it in my ear? Okay. She said she's scared Daddy's watching because he's going to get mad at her.
Yeah. Sophia, thank you so much for coming on the show. You've been a brave young lady. Jennifer Bandiero, thank you for coming on the show. But I wanted you to look into the camera and you have a final say, close with whatever you need to say, and your point of contact. And you could also talk about your race for District 13 for Regent as well.
Okay. So, of course, Jennifer Bandiero, point of contact would be ourchaos.org, or you could go to bandierofornevada.com. My email is jbandiero@hotmail.com. And the only thing that I would really like to state is, for the last 6 years, all I've done is run around to protect both of my children from mental abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse. And nobody wants to listen. Nobody. And it's really hard and disturbing when every night you literally lay your head down and realize we survived another day. It's not life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness in the United States of America. It's not. I want to tell any parent that's going through this, reach out to me. We have a group of people that are trying to change this, that are working tirelessly to change this behind the scenes that nobody's aware of. And we'll listen, because I know what they do is they run you down, they run you out of money. It's attrition, battle of attrition, financial attrition, and you just become helpless. Reach out, don't ever give up, because your children need you. And my daughter says every single day to me, Mom, please don't ever give up on me. I have it on recording of her saying, where she calls and leaves voicemails. She's like, Mom, I don't want to be here. Please don't ever give up on me, because I will never give up on you, Mom. So don't ever give up on your kids. What's happening isn't right. It's not okay. You're not crazy, trust me. And, this has nothing to do with why we're here today, but, he brought up, I'm running for Board of Regents, and I'm doing that for my kids. Every single thing that I do is to better my children's life. And that includes now the students in the state of Nevada. And so all I'm here to do is better anyone's life that I can, because I've seen 2 children go through hell, and I know they're not the only ones in this state. God bless.
Thank you, Jennifer. Jim, thanks for coming on. Folks, that's Jennifer Bandiero and her daughter, Sophia. Hi. Talking about the corruption that goes on in family court. And Judge Dianne Steele, in this case, is part of it. And Judge Steele is running for Congressional District 1. Folks, you got to ask yourself a question. You have a former judge running for Congress who sabotaged a lot of families while wearing the robe. And then she's taking money from Jennifer Abrams, who's, in my opinion, a piece of shit ass attorney, who has destroyed families, who has raped families financially. In my opinion, I have a constitutional right to say that, don't I? And then you got Rena Hughes, who got booted off the bench for messing with the Wealthy Silver case. And I just don't understand how these people could go around and destroy families and still hold themselves harmless from any kind of retribution. Dianne Steele surrounds herself with these particular corrupt individuals while she's running for Congress. Do we really want her to represent Congressional District 1 if she's destroying families when she was a former district court judge in family court? And look at the people she surrounds herself with, Rena Hughes and Jennifer Abrams. Really? Really? She couldn't find anybody else except for those 2 corrupt individuals. Well, tomorrow is primary election, and it's time for us to stand up and vote for people that has the best interests of the people of Nevada. This is Steve Sampson, Jim Jones for Veterans in Politics. Until next time.